I've been reincarnated, dropped right into the life of some guy with my same name, living as a kept man. Right on cue, the 3-year marriage contract is up. I slapped the divorce papers down in front of the Ice Queen CEO, Victoria Sterling. Sign it. $5 million hits my account, and we're even. She freezes, her face an unreadable mask, and points a manicured finger toward the little boy peeking out from behind the doorframe. Leo, you'd really let your son grow up without a father? I almost laughed. This kid was from the original guy's bloodline. What's it got to do with me? Sorry, I said, shrugging. I'm not really the fatherhood type. I laid my cards on the table, but she just assumed I was playing hard to get. Fine, you want to do this the hard way? That night, I hacked into her secret offshore account, wired myself $10 million, and vanished. While my head felt like it was splitting open, I woke up in a bed big enough for 5 of me, staring up at a crystal chandelier so ridiculously extravagant it had to be a joke. Then, a flood of memories that weren't mine rushed in. Me, Leo Carter, a burnout tech bro who'd coded himself into an early grave, had just been reborn. I was now Leo Carter, the trophy husband to a corporate dynasty. And today was the last day of my 3-year contract. I shot upright, pure joy surging through me. Early retirement. Here I come. I bolted downstairs. In the living room, a woman in a silk robe was elegantly sipping coffee. That was her, my contract wife, Victoria Sterling. A genuine knockout, but she radiated a do-not-approach vibe that could freeze fire. I slapped the divorce papers I'd already printed onto the glass coffee table in front of her. Victoria, sign it. 3 years are up. Wire the $5 million to my account, and we can go our separate ways. The hand holding her coffee cup paused midair. She looked up, her stunning face devoid of any emotion. Leo, what kind of game are you playing now? Her tone dripped with sarcasm and a weariness that cut deep. Is $5 million not enough? Or did you spot another limited edition sports car you just have to have? I got it. The original Leo had been a real piece of work, constantly pulling stunts to squeeze more money out of her. I was too tired to explain. I just went for the blunt approach. Let's just make a clean break. Don't hold up my retirement. She actually blinked. For the first time, I saw an expression on her face other than icy indifference. Just then, a small, fluffy head peeked around the corner of the staircase. Mommy, are you guys fighting? Victoria's expression instantly snapped back to its default frostiness. She gestured toward the little boy. Look at him, Leo. Are you really going to let your own son grow up without a father? I glanced at the kid. A cute little thing, sure, but my face remained a blank slate. Doesn't look a thing like me. I'd suggest a paternity test, I said flatly. Besides, kids aren't my thing. Thanks. Whoever his father was could raise him. I just wanted my money and a quiet life on the beach. The little kid suddenly rushed over, grabbing my leg in a hug. He looked up at me, his big eyes shimmering with tears. Daddy, yesterday you said I was your favorite person in the whole wide world. I froze. The old Leo said that, not me. I tried to pry his hands off, but he just started crying louder. Daddy doesn't want me anymore. Is it because I accidentally deleted your game save yesterday? I didn't mean to. What? Victoria's face darkened. She clearly interpreted my resolve as a childish tantrum over a video game. Leo, have you had enough? She stood up, snatched the divorce papers from my hand, and tore them into tiny pieces. Stop with these childish games. You're embarrassing yourself. The paper scraps fluttered to the floor. I stared at the confetti of my freedom, felt nothing, and then felt an urge to laugh. Fine, you want to do it the hard way. You asked for this. So I went back to my room and locked the door. On the surface, I was sulking, giving her the silent treatment. In reality, I fired up the old Leo's laptop. Boot sequence, fingers on the keyboard. In my past life, I wasn't just a corporate drone. I was a top-tier cybersecurity engineer. Breaching the internal network of a company like Sterling Industries was child's play. Knock, knock, knock. A tiny, high-pitched voice came from the other side of the door. Daddy, open up. I brought you some milk. I ignored him, my fingers flying across the keys. Within minutes, I torn a hole straight through Sterling Industries' firewall. Daddy, drink your milk and cool down. Mommy loves you, you know. The lock clicked. Alex had somehow gotten a key and opened the door himself. He tiptoed in, carefully balancing a glass of milk. And then his foot slipped. The entire glass of milk cascaded across my keyboard. The laptop screen went black instantly. A vein throbbed in my forehead. I took a deep breath, fighting the primal urge to toss this little menace out the window. I picked him up, carried him out of the room, and locked the door again. Downstairs, I heard the butler's voice. "Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, a Mr. Chadwick Vance is here." Chadwick Vance, Victoria's biggest business rival and most obsessive admirer. I peered down from the second-floor landing. A man with slicked back hair, clutching a massive bouquet of roses, was striding into the foyer. "Victoria, darling, I heard your kept man was acting up again. A guy like that isn't even fit to be a dog walker for my family. Why do you even keep him around?" Chad's voice was loud, his contempt undisguised. Victoria's expression was grim. I had no time for this clown. I turned to go find a new laptop, but Alex suddenly darted past me, stood at the top of the stairs, and yelled down at Chad. "You're the mean uncle. My daddy is the most handsome man in the world. 1,000,000 times more handsome than you and your bald spot." Chad's face turned a shade of purple as he pointed a speechless finger at Alex. I used the distraction to slip back into the room, grabbing a spare laptop. Time to get back to work. Victoria's corporate accounts were clean, but my gut told me she had something squirreled away. Sure enough, buried in an encrypted subfolder, I found it, a secret offshore account in the Caymans used for off-the-books operations. I looked at the long string of numbers in the balance and smiled. 5 million? I was thinking too small. This money? I was calling it compensation for emotional distress. I was taking 10 million. That evening, Victoria came home looking exhausted. She saw me sitting on the floor, dutifully playing with Legos with Alex, and her expression softened slightly. She probably thought I'd come to my senses. "I'll buy you a new car tomorrow. Just stop this nonsense." The same condescending tone, like she was granting a favor. I gave her a non-committal nod. Inside, I was starting a silent countdown, T-minus 8 hours to my new life. 3:03 in the morning. The city was asleep. On my laptop screen, a progress bar finally hit 100%. Transfer successful. $10 million, down to the last cent, was now sitting in my anonymous crypto wallet. Done. I wiped the hard drive, unplugged everything, and left no trace. I already had a small duffel bag packed with a few changes of clothes, a new set of fake IDs, and a small bundle of cash. I pulled a sticky note from the drawer. After a moment's thought, I drew a big, stupid smiley face on it. Below it, I wrote, "It's a big world out there. I'm going to go lie down in it. Don't miss me. Don't look for me. You won't find me. Your favorite ex-husband." I placed the note on her nightstand, right where she'd see it the moment she opened her eyes. I took one last look at the mansion, a place that felt more like a gilded cage than a home, and felt nothing but relief. So long, prison. Hello, freedom. I slipped out undetected, caught a rideshare to the bus terminal, and hopped on the first Greyhound heading south. Outside the window, the city lights blurred and faded into the distance. I leaned back in the worn seat, feeling the rhythmic rumble of the bus, smelling the stale air mixed with the scent of instant ramen. This was the real world. The next morning, Victoria woke to the blinding sun. She instinctively glanced at the empty space beside her in bed. She frowned, then noticed the out-of-place sticky note on her nightstand. She picked it up. As she read the words under the stupid, smiley face, she began to tremble with rage. "Leo Carter." Just then, her private assistant called, his voice frantic. "Ms. Sterling, it's an emergency. The $10 million from your Cayman account. It's gone. Transferred out by an anonymous party." Victoria's expression shifted from pure fury to cold, stunned shock. For the very first time, she realized Leo wasn't just throwing a tantrum. He had actually left. And he hadn't just left. He'd robbed her blind on his way out. 4 bus after bus, transfer after transfer. 3 days later, I finally arrived at my dream destination, a sleepy little town called Havenwood, tucked away in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was gorgeous, quiet, and slow, the perfect place to retire. Using cash, I rented a small, quiet house with a vegetable garden on the edge of town for a full year. The landlady was a sweet old woman who gave me some vegetable seedlings as a welcome gift. I dropped my duffel bag next to a rocking chair on the porch and went to the general store to buy a case of ice-cold Coke. Lying back in that chair, with the blue sky above, the sound of birds in the air, and a cold drink in my hand, I closed my eyes in pure bliss. This was the life. As evening fell, the setting sun painted the yard in shades of gold. I was humming to myself, ready to unpack and officially begin my fantastic new life. I grabbed the duffel bag. It felt heavy, way too heavy. That's weird, I thought. I only packed a few t-shirts. I laid the bag on the porch and unzipped it. The zipper screeched open. A small head, topped with a stubborn cowlick, popped out. Alex rubbed his sleepy eyes, saw me, and broke into a wide, innocent grin. Surprise. Daddy, our secret getaway plan was a total success. Clatter. The bottle of Coke slipped from my hand and shattered on the ground. I was completely frozen. My mind was a complete blank. It felt like I'd been lounging on a cloud in heaven, only to take one wrong step and plummet straight into the fiery pits of hell. Retirement? The simple life? My $10 million. Alex scrambled out of the duffel bag. Beneath him, the stacks of cash I'd brought to start my new life were crushed and wrinkled. He patted my leg and looked up at me with his big, innocent eyes. Daddy, don't just stand there. I am hungry. What's for dinner? I stared at the little demon's beaming face. My vision went dark, and I nearly passed out right there on the porch. My retirement plan imploded on day one. Only one thought echoed in my mind. Send him back. I tried stuffing him back into the bag to ship him home, but he clung to my leg, wailing like a fire siren. Daddy, you don't want me anymore? I thought I was your favorite little guy. If you send me back, I'll tell everyone in this whole town that you abandoned me, and that you stole all my mommy's money. I froze mid-stuff. This kid already knew the concept of abandonment. I was defeated. Forced into fatherhood, I immediately faced a survival crisis. Dinner. Daddy, I want filet mignon. I emotionlessly prepared him a bowl of instant ramen. Take it or leave it. He slurped the noodles, his eyes wet with tears. This is the best filet mignon I've ever had. The next day, I took him to the town market to buy some supplies. He unleashed his true nature as a terminal extrovert. To everyone we passed, he'd announce, "Hi, sir. Fee, Mung. My name is Alex, and this is my daddy, Leo. We're big shot city folk who went broke and are here to experience the simple life." The entire town started looking at me with pity. Passing by a small farm, he pointed at a chicken with feathers that looked like a fresh perm, his eyes wide with excitement. Daddy, look, a supermodel chicken. Let's catch her, and she can be your new wife. I dragged him away, feeling the judgmental clucks of every chicken in a 5-mile radius. Desperate for some peace, I left him the yard to play in the dirt. I came back to find he'd lured the neighbor's golden retriever into our yard. By the time I found them, he had used my eyebrow pencil to give the poor dog a full smoky eye look. Old man Hemlock, the dog's owner, stood at our fence, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. I grabbed a bamboo stick and chased Alex around the yard. He ran, screaming at the top of his lungs. He's hitting me. My daddy's hitting me because I'm more handsome than he is. Help! The entire neighborhood came out to watch the spectacle, pointing and murmuring. I was mentally and physically exhausted. That night, he was still buzzing with energy, pestering me for a bedtime story. I flopped on a bed, completely fed up, and started making one up. Once upon a time, there was a hero who stole $10 million from an evil ice queen. He ran away to a beautiful, quiet place to retire. He listened, captivated, his eyes sparkling. Daddy, was that hero super cool? Was he handsome like you? Yeah, sure, I grumbled, rolling over. He fell asleep quickly, his breathing soft and even. I looked at his sleeping face and felt a strange tug in my chest. The kid was a nightmare, but maybe he wasn't all bad. I got up to go have a smoke on the porch and noticed that the flip-flops I'd kicked off by the door were now placed neatly side by side. On the kitchen table was a single leaf with a smiley face drawn on it. Next to it, in wobbly letters, was the word, dinner money. I sighed. I was stuck with him. Whatever. So I'm a dad now. Just another one of life's little adventures, I guess. 6. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in a New York City skyscraper, Victoria Sterling's assistant was reporting his findings, trembling. Ma'am, we found him. A large sum of money has been withdrawn in small increments from a series of ATMs in a small town in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We have security footage of the person making the withdrawals. The assistant handed her a photograph. In the grainy image, I was dressed in a cheap t-shirt and board shorts, wearing sunglasses and a straw hat, pulling cash from a beat-up ATM. And standing right next to me, wearing a matching miniature straw hat, was Alex. Victoria stared at the photo. She realized this man hadn't just stolen her money. He had stolen her son. A complex storm of emotions brewed inside her. The white-hot rage of betrayal mixed with an unnerving sense of loss. Back in Havenwood, I was blissfully unaware that I'd been found. My string of bad luck continued. Alex heard from somewhere that a new, very pretty volunteer teacher had arrived in town. He insisted on going to pay his respects. His idea of paying respects was to tell the sweet, gentle young woman, "Teacher, your dress looks like rainbow candy. Can I lick it?" I was politely summoned to the school. I dragged Alex by the collar and forced him to apologize. The teacher's name was Emily. She was as kind as her reputation suggested. Not only was she not angry, she gently patted Alex's head and told me he was adorable. "It's okay, he's just a kid," she said, her smile warm. "There's a town bonfire tonight. You two should come." Alex's eyes lit up. He leaned in and whispered to me, "Daddy, she's so much prettier and nicer than Mommy. Can we get a new one?" I flicked him on the head. I only went for the free food, but at the party, Alex became the star of the show. He sang, he danced, then he tried to auction me off. "My daddy is single. He's handsome and rich, just a little bit lazy," he announced to the crowd. "All the pretty ladies who are interested can form a line to get a ticket." Emily giggled, looking at me with a new flicker of curiosity and interest. The other townsfolk hooted and cheered. Just as the atmosphere hit its peak, the roar of a high-performance engine shattered the peaceful night. A black Maybach, completely out of place in our rustic town, pulled up to the edge of the village square. The door opened. Victoria Sterling emerged, dressed in a custom-tailored power suit and 4-inch heels. She stood on the muddy dirt path, her cold gaze fixed on me as I laughed and talked with Emily by the fire. The entire party fell silent. Alex was the first to spot her. He waved his arms excitedly and yelled, "Mommy, are you here for Daddy's dating party, too?" 7. Victoria's face was as black as thunder. She strode through the crowd, her expensive heels sinking into the soft dirt with each determined step. She stopped in front of me, looking down her nose like a queen addressing a peasant. She pulled a checkbook from her designer handbag, scribbled a number, tore out the check, and held it out to me. "I'll double it. Now, get in the car. We're going home." I didn't even glance at the check. I just blew on it lightly, letting it flutter from her fingers and drift to the ground. "Sorry, I'm retired. Please don't disturb me." A crack appeared in her icy facade. She turned her attention to Alex, reaching for his hand. "Alex, come home with Mommy." Alex instantly wrapped himself around my leg like a koala. "No, I want to stay with Daddy." "You're too mean, Mommy. All the pretty ladies ran away as soon as you showed up." Victoria's expression soured even further. She tried to grab him, but the town's mayor stepped in. "Ma'am, let's all just take it easy. No need to frighten the boy." Defeated, Victoria had no choice but to stay. She tried to rent the nicest house in town with a wad of cash, only to be told, "The nicest place, that little house with the garden? That lazy fella with the kid already rented it." She ended up in the town's only very rustic motel. The first night, she was eaten alive by mosquitoes and showed up at my door in the middle of the night, humiliated, asking for bug spray. The next day, she attempted to reclaim some of her maternal dignity by trying to cook. She nearly burned the landlady's kitchen down. In the end, she slunk over to my place to bum a meal off me. I deliberately served her a bowl of instant ramen. She frowned at the bowl, but ultimately, she ate every last bite. From the side, Alex provided commentary. "Congratulations, Mommy. You finally experienced Daddy's Michelin 3-star signature dish." Victoria's face flushed. She tried to adapt, to join our life. She followed us out to the garden to pick vegetables. She ended up mistaking the landlady's 3-month-old chives for weeds and pulling them all up. Seeing her standing there in her designer suit, clutching a handful of chives, her shoes caked in mud, looking utterly lost and defeated. For the first time, I thought this high and mighty CO seemed almost human. Through a series of embarrassing failures, Victoria was forced to shed her pride and arrogance. She clumsily learned how to build a fire, wash vegetables, and even read Alex a bedtime story. Though, her choice of story was the 18 methods of hostile corporate takeovers. The peaceful life didn't last long. Trouble came looking for us. Chadwick Vance had tracked Victoria down. Assuming we were out here playing house, he flew into a jealous rage and showed up with a group of black-suited goons. I was in the yard, teaching Alex how to shoot walnuts with a slingshot when the gate was kicked open. Chad strode in, looking greasy and furious, flanked by 4 bulky men. His eyes landed on Victoria, who was wearing an apron and washing vegetables. His face twisted in disgust. "Victoria, how could you be here doing this? This servant's work." He turned to me, pulled a thick stack of cash from his pocket, and threw it in my face. "Take the money and get lost," he spat. "Victoria is out of your league, you parasite. Disappear." The money didn't hurt, but the insult stung. Before I could say a word, Alex exploded. "Don't you talk to my daddy like that. Don't you throw money at my daddy. My daddy has way more money than you." He scrambled back into the house and dragged a large canvas sack out from under his bed. It was the cash we hadn't had a chance to deposit yet. He grabbed a bundle of bills and, with all his might, hurled it directly at Chad's face. "You like throwing money. I'll bury you in it, you bald spot head." Chad staggered back, enraged. He raised his hand to strike Alex. My eyes went cold. I stuck out my foot and gently tripped him. He lost his balance and went down face first in the dirt. I cracked my knuckles and slowly stood up. "Back in the city, you're Mr. Vance. Out here," I said, my voice low, "you're just some tourist trespassing on private property and trying to hit a child." As I spoke, a crowd began to form outside our fence. Old Man Hemlock, the widow from down the road, and a dozen other able-bodied townsfolk, armed with shovels, hoes, and pitchforks. They were my good neighbors, easily won over with a few home-cooked meals. They stared menacingly at Chad and his bodyguards. Faced with an angry mob of mountain folk, Chad's hired muscle lost their nerve. Just then, Victoria put down the vegetables she was washing, wiped her hands, and fixed Chad with a glacial stare. "This is my family's business. It has nothing to do with you. Get out." Chad's face cycled through shades of purple and white. He scrambled to his feet and scurried away with his men. As their car sped off, Alex sicked the neighbor's dog on them, which chased their car down the road, nipping at the tires. After that, the way Victoria looked at me changed completely. For the first time, she saw that this lazy, laid-back freeloader might actually be someone she could rely on. Life in the country continued, a mix of peaceful days and chaotic moments. One afternoon, Alex insisted on trying to catch fish in the river. He slipped, fell in, and swallowed a few mouthfuls of water. That night, he spiked a high fever. He was burning up, his face flushed red as he drifted in and out of consciousness. Holding his limp body, I felt a panic I'd never known. "Victoria, get the car keys." I yelled, my voice shaking. She was just as terrified, her face pale as she grabbed the keys, and we sped toward the small clinic in the next town over. The clinic was poorly equipped. After examining Alex, the doctor's face was grave. "The fever has caused complications. It's serious. He needs an immediate blood transfusion." He paused. "But he has a rare blood type, Rh negative. Our supply is out, and the county hospital doesn't have any in stock either." "Rh negative?" Victoria looked completely bewildered. "But that's not my blood type," she murmured. I stared at Alex, lying so still on the hospital bed. The little demon who usually drove me insane was now as quiet and fragile as a broken doll. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. On pure instinct, I held out my arm to the doctor. "Take mine. I have the same blood type." Victoria stared at me in utter shock. The doctor was stunned. I didn't have time to explain. In my past life, that was my blood type. I never imagined it would carry over in my reincarnation. What a hell of a coincidence. The transfusion was a success. Alex's temperature slowly came down, and color returned to his cheeks. He was out of danger. Outside in the hallway, Victoria leaned against the wall, her eyes red. She looked at me and, for the first time, spoke in a voice that was almost vulnerable. "Thank you." I just waved my hand, unable to find any words. After a long silence, she finally spoke, her voice hoarse. 3 years ago, I was set up by a business rival. At a gala, Someone drugged my drink. I ended up in a hotel room with a man. I never even saw his face. I don't know who he was. Later, I found out I was pregnant. To protect the company and the baby, I needed a husband, in name only. I vetted dozens of candidates and chose you. Your file said you were honest, unambitious, and easy to control. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. My mind reeled. So, Alex wasn't the original Leo's son. Then whose was he? 3 years ago, a one-night stand, a ridiculous, impossible idea began to take root in my mind. This reincarnation, it wasn't an accident. It was destiny. I looked through the window at Alex, sleeping peacefully in the hospital bed, and my world tilted on its axis. All this time, this little brat, he wasn't the old Leo's kid at all. After hearing Victoria's story, my entire perspective shifted. When Alex woke up and found out I'd given him my blood, he was so moved he threw his arms around my neck and covered my face in kisses. I knew you loved me most, Daddy. You're my superhero. His sweet words melted the last of my resistance, and my attitude toward him softened completely. I started teaching him important, manly things like how to properly climb a tree and how to use a slingshot to ding the hubcaps on passing cars. He, however, was more interested in my past. Daddy, how did you get Mommy to marry you? She's so scary. You have to teach me your secrets. I want to ask out the prettiest girl in my kindergarten class, and she's super scary too. I cleared my throat and began to spin a tall tale. Winning over an ice queen is simple, really. First, you have to be devastatingly handsome. Second, please refer to rule number 1. And third, if the first two don't work, you resort to the nuclear option. Steal all her money and run for the hills. I guarantee she will never, ever forget you. The moment the words left my mouth, I saw Victoria standing in the doorway, holding a bowl of chicken soup. Her face was an exquisite mixture of crimson and thunderblack. I rubbed the back of my neck, suddenly very embarrassed. Amidst this bizarrely heartwarming atmosphere, Victoria got an urgent call. Chadwick Vance, before being taken into custody, had colluded with several key shareholders to maliciously short Sterling Industries stock. The company was now in a full-blown crisis. She had to go back immediately. The night before she left, the three of us sat out on the porch, watching the stars. For the first time, we felt like a real family. The country sky was breathtaking, littered with brilliant stars. Victoria kept looking at me, words unsaid hanging in the air between us. Finally, she just said softly, "I'll come back for you both as soon as I've handled this." For once, I didn't have a sarcastic comeback. I just mumbled a vague, hum. After she was gone, Alex leaned against me and whispered, "Daddy, I think that big mean mommy has let you steal her heart." Something stirred in my chest. I didn't say anything, just pulled him a little closer. The house felt empty after Victoria left. I had to admit, I wasn't used to the quiet. Her situation at the company was dire. She didn't say much on the phone, but I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. Vance's plan was a nasty one, and the other major shareholders were circling like sharks, trying to force her out. I didn't want to get involved in corporate drama, but the thought of her going broke and my son's future allowance disappearing was irritating. One day, I was playing with a new transformer Alex had gotten. As he was making it fly around the room, he said something that caught my attention. "Daddy, that mean uncle with a bald spot." When he was here, he was bragging to Mommy about some big overseas investment he made. Said it was a sure thing. He said Mommy was too conservative to make the big bucks. Overseas investment? A light bulb went off. I immediately thought of the secret Cayman account I'd found, the one used for off-the-books operations. Driven by the noble cause of my baby mama can't go broke, or who will pay for my retirement, I opened my laptop once again. This time, I slipped right into Chadwick Vance's corporate network. What I found was staggering. Vance's sure thing overseas project was nothing but a sophisticated Ponzi scheme. The majority of the capital he'd used to try and take over Sterling Industries came from funds illegally raised by this scam. Worse, I discovered that Victoria's secret account wasn't her idea at all. Vance had orchestrated the whole thing, setting a trap to frame her for financial crimes after her company collapsed. It was a vicious, brilliant plan. I let out a cold laugh, my fingers dancing across the keyboard. I compiled all the evidence, transaction records, wiretap phone calls, internal emails, into 2 neat packages. 1. I sent anonymously to the SEC. The other, I sent to Victoria's private email address. At that exact moment, in the Sterling Industries boardroom, Victoria was being backed into a corner. The shareholders were demanding her resignation to take responsibility for the company's plummeting stock value. She was at the end of her rope. Then, her phone buzzed with a new email notification. The sender's icon was a familiar, stupid smiley face. She opened the email. As she scrolled through the mountain of irrefutable evidence, a slow smile spread across her face. Before the stunned board members, she connected her phone to the room's projector. "Gentlemen, before we continue discussing my resignation, perhaps you'd like to see this." As the evidence of Chadwick Vance's crimes filled the screen, the boardroom fell deathly silent. The shareholders who had been loudest in their condemnation turned pale. The tables had turned, instantly and completely. Victoria looked at the smiley face on the screen and, in the middle of a corporate war zone, let out a genuine, relaxed smile for the first time in weeks. And 1,000 miles away, I was lying back in my rocking chair, watching my son chase butterflies in the yard. Mission accomplished. Not a word said. The corporate crisis was averted. Chadwick Vance and his accomplices were facing a laundry list of federal charges. 3 days later, Victoria returned. She wasn't driving the flashy Maybach. Instead, she pulled up in a simple white SUV, the back loaded with toys and snacks for Alex. She wasn't wearing a power suit, but a casual tracksuit that made her look years younger. She'd left her trusted VP in charge of the company and given herself a long overdue vacation. She walked up to me and solemnly handed me a folder. I assumed it was another contract and opened it with a sigh of impatience. Inside was a paternity test report. The results confirmed, with 99.9% certainty, that I was Alex's biological father. Underneath the report was a new agreement. The title read, Lifelong Partnership Agreement. Party A, Victoria Sterling. Party B, Leo Carter. Party C, Alex Sterling. The terms consisted of a single clause. Party A, Victoria Sterling, willingly commits to being the lifelong ATM and personal assistant for Party B, Leo Carter, and Party C, Alex Sterling. Her duties shall include looking fabulous and earning money to support the family. This commitment is made without complaint and is not subject to termination. I stared at it, speechless. Victoria looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a hint of nervousness and shyness on her perpetually cool face. Leo, I never knew how to love someone. Can you teach me? Alex darted out from behind her and hugged my legs. Say yes, Daddy. Mommy can do the dishes, make money, and she's a great hugger. I looked at the big and little troublemakers in front of me and suddenly burst out laughing. I took the ridiculous agreement and, under their anxious gazes, slowly crumpled it into a ball and tossed it into a nearby trash can. Alex's lip began to quiver. Victoria's eyes lost their light. I casually leaned back in my rocking chair and closed my eyes. Well, what are you standing around for? It's dinner time, Miss Sterling. It's your turn to cook. Victoria froze for a second, and then her face broke into a smile more brilliant than anything I had ever seen. Okay, she smiled, turned, and walked into the little kitchen that was now filled with the warmth of a home. Under the setting sun, Alex chattered away beside me, describing the new eyebrows he'd drawn on the neighbor's golden retriever. I listened to the sound of chopping from the kitchen and the happy nonsense for my son. My lazy, early retirement. You know, it wasn't half bad.